How do you expect a shoplifter not to?
A prolific shoplifter detectives nicknamed the Hamburglar after catching him stealing meat and seafood from Portland area stores was sentenced to 20 months in prison and 5 years of probation. As part of a plea deal, Barry Sanders agreed to stay out of stores he stole from, including Safeway, Target, Winco, Home Depot, and Fred Meyer. If he violates that probation, he'll face additional prison time.
My addiction is the core reason for my shoplifting.
In court papers, Sanders admitted he'd shoplifted more than 1,000 times, but was caught only 10% of the time because he was a, quote, talented professional thief. In 2017, a KGW investigation found retailers and police frustrated by a flawed system that allowed shoplifters to reoffend without facing serious consequences. Sanders' criminal history helped to illustrate the problem. At the time, this is what he told a detective.
Would you say you're a professional thief?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because I know the law and I know the rules, and I know what I can and what I can't do.
In April of last year, Sanders made headlines after police caught him stealing hundreds of dollars in shrimp from Portland area stores. The 58-year-old Portland man admits he's been arrested more than 100 times. In 2017, Oregon lawmakers reduced mandatory sentences for some property crimes. Many district attorneys opposed the change, arguing it would increase crime. Legislators claimed House Bill 3078 would decrease prison population and fix unfair sentencing rules.
Thank you, Kyle. If you have a story idea for Kyle to investigate, give him a call at 503-226-5041.